On October the 7th, Hamas launched a barrage of attacks against Israel, killing more than 1,200 people, taking around 240 people hostage, marking the deadliest day for Jews since the Holocaust. That is an indisputable fact. Following that attack, the Israeli military retaliated with the bombing of Gaza, killing more than 18,700 people. That's another indisputable fact. We can't agree on much these days, but these two facts are undeniable. The question when addressing the Israeli-Palestinian conflict is what happened in the months and years before October 7th, why tensions in that region are what they are. There's a notable lack of historical context around the formation of the State of Israel and the long-held struggles to establish a Palestinian state, and there's a deep division over how to move forward. But there's no moving forward if there's a misunderstanding of basic history. Call me naive, but I assume most of the American public knew at least one side of this long, complicated history. The American education system, let alone the Israeli public education system, does not typically include the story of Palestinian plight throughout history. But I would have guessed that American schools do a pretty good job about discussing the Holocaust. Well, sadly, it turns out I'm wrong. Not even the meticulously planned annihilation of 6 million Jews during World War II is a matter of agreed-upon fact for many Americans. A 2020 study by the Conference on Jewish Material Claims Against Germany found an alarming number of millennials and Gen Z don't know basic knowledge about the Holocaust. The survey covered adults across both generations from age 18 to 39. 48% of the millennials could not name a single one of the concentration camps or ghettos established during World War II. 56% were unable to identify the notorious Auschwitz-Birkenau. 63% do not know that 6 million Jews were murdered during the Holocaust. 36% thought that 2 million or fewer Jews were killed. And perhaps in one of the most disturbing revelations of the entire survey, 11% of U.S. millennial and Gen Z respondents believe that Jews caused the Holocaust. 6 million Jews apparently caused their own demise. This is a problem. To understand the conflict between the Israelis and the Palestinians is to understand the histories of the people competing over that tiny piece of land. And to understand Jewish motivations, in part, requires understanding at least the basics of the Holocaust. The creation of an Israeli state in British Mandate Palestine had been in the works for decades before World War II. The Holocaust did not directly cause the creation of the State of Israel, but it certainly moved it along. The murder of 6 million Jews made the Zionist movement at the time more determined and less patient to achieve its long-held goal of Jewish statehood. For many, Jews and otherwise, the Holocaust vindicated the need for a country in which Jews could feel safe after Western democracies failed to protect them from the Nazis. The Holocaust is one of humanity's darkest historical moments. The Middle East is one of our most complex contemporary issues. We cannot find solutions to our toughest problems now if we cannot work from a shared set of basic documented facts. If 2 generations of Americans don't know that 6 million Jews were murdered in the Holocaust, where do we go from here? That survey uncovered another disturbing realization, a troubling sign of the times, perhaps. 59% of the respondents said they believe something like the Holocaust could happen again.